Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions, and I answer them. It's pretty simple, and we actually have a ton of questions on the forum, so no news, nothing related. I've got some stuff that needs to be talked about, but we'll worry about that later. We're going to thank our Patreon sponsors, get right into the questions, because I haven't had this many questions on a weekly Q&A in quite some time. No doubt due to the increase of people who have questions about Shadowbringers and new players that are coming in with the recent Twitch Prime thing that's coming out, as well as just WoW refugees and all that stuff. So anyway, for those of you who may not be familiar with our weekly Q&A, we have people over on Patreon who have been supporting us through hashtag demonetized. True story, my Vieira video that I made about whether or not we'd get male Vieira, it got demonetized until it got manually reviewed. I don't know if maybe it caught as male Viagra. Maybe that's where their YouTube system did, and as soon as they realized it was wrong, they let it through. But that did get demonetized, so it was very interesting. So, we got to thank our patrons of light, first of all. They are the people who have gone above and beyond in terms of monetary support on the channel, and that is Khuja Cross on Jenova as patron of light number 1, and of course, Kurenai Oni as patron of light number 2. On the YouTube side of things, you guys will see an image that they've provided. On Twitch, you're just seeing my ugly mug, which really needs to trim the beard. Not cut it off altogether, but definitely needs to be trimmed and shaped up. But thank you to our patrons of light, as I say every week. I don't know how to say it any more than I already do. Thank you for being massive supporters. We also have the rest of our patrons. I have not updated this list for February, so excuse me if there's a name that does or doesn't belong on the list somewhere. We have our standard sponsors. We have Kevin, Wabatalia, Alma Elma, Dark Lumina from Jenova, Marianne, Ramil Gaming, Sabo Empire, Mizra, Red Wings of the Baron FC from Zalera, Cidus, Oreo and Shiva, Syd Hellwind of Gilgamesh, Afro Ninja from Malboro, Cheesecake from Leviathan, That Lame Weeb, Ashen, Emiya of Cerberus, Fafarian, Rendil, Stevie-Rex, and Neon. We have our elite sponsors. We have Emma, Naira Vizsla of the Fist of Rhalgr, Krista Uzuki, Crazy Meter from Midgard, Rynoet Chikara from Cactar, Carol, Ray, Senchi, Shadow Lake from the Tonberry server, Dom, Asuka Wake from Jenova, Limilla Nelhah of Midgard, Sarma, Sarah and the Fennel family, Janhyua Yotsuyu, Kifka and the Grey Eagles on Exodus, Kadayoshi from Khuja, Skia Symphonia from Ragnarok, Rylanator Westaus The Purple Warrior, Edgic Red Steel on Exodus, Lexxie Valentine, Mantaru the Rivivus FC from Zodiac, Sour Cream and Tribes from Jenova, Rynoet Chikara, Goisha Valfa of Siren, Phoenix NFC on Goblin, and Saren from Zodiac. Finally, we have our premium sponsors. We have Vapa Tiama from Diablo, Shadow Ari of Brynhildr, Zeravira of Coworld, Alchemy, Shinka, Casual Heroes FC on Midgard Armor, Tatachi Taka on Hyperion, Kane Azuki from Jenova, Starla on Coworld, Sathal, Sarah Frost from Behemoth, Holy Tabasco, Crass 015, Serenity FC on Ultras, Kat Kazuma, Ignis Fairgren from Excalibur, Valestra of Fanfrit, Not Quarters from Excalibur, Krovos Moonscar, Private Mikey, Nana Kirasami, Rudy Rudiger, Kill Hackman, Raul Jr., and Killtastic Jones. Woo! I did it. I tried to do that one as quick as possible. Thank you to all of our Patreon sponsors for your continued support. And as Aloha joins me to sleep on my PS4, which is currently on from playing the Devil May Cry 5 demo, let's get started with the actual questions. All right, question number 1. No hello? Fine. Hello. Do you think Gunbreaker will have elements of Squall or Cypher? I'm assuming you mean its design elements, not actual elements. To me, Squall has always been like a warrior knight or a dark knight since his ability gets stronger when he's close to death. That's kind of just a mechanic with crisis level in that game as a whole. And Cypher has felt more like a red mage. Dude, Cypher is more like a bitch. No, sorry. Without the draw system, Cypher's main attacks are physical, and his limit was magical. Squall, on the other hand, was all physical with some buffs and debuffs. Cypher's saying, I think you're reading a little bit too much into it. I think you should look at it more as a unique take on the Gunblade weapon for Final Fantasy XIV in particular. You also have to remember that in Final Fantasy VIII, a Gunblade, it didn't really work. The way that a Gunblade works in Final Fantasy VIII is more like a vibroblade, where when it fires the bullets, it hits the back of the blade itself and causes it to vibrate at a massive speed, which is what causes the critical hit. And, you know, I think we'll see elements of that there, but other than that, you should kind of just look at it as a completely unique take on the Gunblade and how it's actually going to be effectively used. All right, question number 2. Hello, Mr. Happy. How you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. So hopefully you're doing all right. I asked the question a very, very, very long time back, and I gave you a bonus of a free trip to my home country of Sweden. Now I'm going to give you something much better, a trip back home. Oh yeah, sorry, I've been trapped there this whole time, so I'm glad you're finally letting me return home to my family. Thank you. So my question is, what are your thoughts on the trust system? Personally, I think it seems kind of dumb to add a single-player mode for dungeons in an MMO. I know squadrons exist, but it's kind of its own thing and a mini-game. No, it's very effective in terms of leveling secondary jobs. Not for helping you through the MSQ. I get that some people want to experience the story solo. I still think the trust system should be used for current dungeons. Well, one thing to keep in mind with the trust system is that it is literally a system that doesn't affect your gameplay much at all. It is for people, mostly for DPS, who really don't want to deal with queues. Obviously, playing with real players is always going to be a better experience. Most of the time, it's going to be a better experience. And they're so it's really just for people who have kind of more introverted tendencies, in a sense. Or people who want to go back and grind. Maybe they want to grind something like Dungeon for a certain gear piece, and they don't want to have to wait in queues. It's really, I feel, more for the DPS queue kind of person and the introvert who doesn't really want to have to deal with other people. And I think that's fine. I think it's a big thing to make sure that your MMO is not just about playing with other people, but making sure that it's an experience that any player can go in and get kind of what they're looking for. That's where the theme park term kind of came in the first place, is not really being shoehorned into a specific means of approaching the game. It's really to allow you to go and pick the things you want the most. And this is adding another option to that. My only major concern with the trust system, and why I actually think they should delay it 1 week, which sounds dumb because there's going to be obviously queue time issues at the very beginning of the expansion. I'm concerned with people wanting to try it out for the first time right when the expansion hits, and too many people doing that. And that could, even with all the servers, all the server restructuring and all that stuff, I'm concerned that that's going to completely undo all the efforts they made in regards to splitting the data center so we wouldn't have a Raubon extreme situation. And it also is only for the Shadowbringers main scenario quest dungeons, as far as we know, which on average, there's 5 or 6 dungeons. So it's a very small percentage of the game that these are even accessible in. And I don't know if you guys heard that motorcycle, but nice motorcycle. I think that because it's in such a limited scope, it's okay. It's not something you'll be doing all the way up through the entire main scenario. And for that, I think they're kind of taking a very measured approach, which is kind of what they have to do for this one. I don't want people to think I hate the trust system, but I think it's kind of weird to put them out. Well, yeah, I guess I've covered all the points there. That's my thought on it, at the very least. But I totally understand the aspect of looking at an MMO. It's an online game. It's a multiplayer game. I just have a different outlook on MMOs altogether. I personally think it's really something that I kind of wish that instead of it being like a system you could turn on and off, I wish that like if you were in queue for a main scenario dungeons for a certain period of time, like maybe 8 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that, that then it would just autofill. At that point, it kind of accepts that you're not going to get a party traditionally in a reasonable amount of time. And then it kicks in. I think that would at least encourage people to go in and attempt to get a party with other people. And then this kind of filters in the case where maybe there's not enough people queuing for that individual thing. I think that's a little bit more in the lines of what maybe you would like, and I think that could work. But I understand what the actual approach to is for, and I think it's probably a good thing to have at this point. All right, question number 3. Hello, greetings and salutations, Mr. Happy. Hello. When I look at how Gunbreaker was described, I get a sense that Dark Knight just using reload instead of Dark Arts. Did you get a different idea? I initially thought of it being like using Dark Arts after the skill was used, as opposed to before the skill was used, but they said that it's not going to play quite like that. It seems that you're basically going to be able to turn on and off when you want to actually use the ammo. So it's going to simulate the idea of you having those kind of bonus effects without you needing to press the trigger every single time you want to actually use the ammo. That was my impression of it based on the description they gave later. Apparently there's a Dwarf Beast Tribe. Yeah, we've known that since North America. They told us at North America when they revealed the new Mo that there would be dwarves and pixies as well. We've now seen pixies, and anyone who wasn't paying attention the first 2 times they mentioned dwarves at this point has absolutely noticed it when it's on the either the Steam pre-order or any of the pre-order descriptions overall. How do you think they'll design them? I think they're going to look like the Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 9 dwarves. Like Conde Petit, lolly ho, rally ho, depending on which game you're actually playing. But they're going to look a lot more like goblins and orcs, as opposed to traditional dwarves. That's how they were initially designed, kind of back in Final Fantasy 1, and that's how they appear in Final Fantasy 9. So I think that's what they're going to be going for when they, you even mentioned it. They look a lot more like a goblin of, a more fantasy-like goblin. Not ours with the masks on, like a more just goblin-esque. Spoiler question. I've got a lot of questions this week, so I'm actually going to avoid the spoiler question altogether, if you don't mind, so I have time for everything. I do a lot of theorycraft when it comes to story work at linking various systems demonstrated to predict future possibilities. Edit. Wasn't that Raktica Greatwood track some hype? It damn well was. Thank you for the questions, and if you want to throw that spoiler question in another week, where there's either more questions there or even less questions, whatever, I would highly recommend to throw that maybe on the next thread. All right, question number 4. Hey, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Do you think we'll be able to use the Blazefire Saber for our Gunbreaker? No! Even though it is technically a Gunblade by all mentions of Final Fantasy 13, it is a Gladiator / Paladin weapon for now. I don't think they'll adjust it to be used for Gunbreaker, so sorry. Oh boy, that's a lot of text. Luckily, they labeled where their question was. Hey, Mr. Happy, this is Lion Fury from Balmung. It's the first time asking a question, and I've been watching your channel for a long time. Thank you for supporting the channel for all the time that you have. Background. When I think about the direction of 14 expansions, try to think of the next best thing to add when there's modes. 3.0 is mount flying, 4.0 is diving and swimming, and I hope there's nothing new travel-wise. I really think that adding flying, swimming, diving, all of that is really more for immersion's sake and not for functionality's sake. They made flying and swimming, they made sure there were areas that were exclusively accessible with those things. And that's really it. They're really just meant as a means of immersion for the actual game. So you think there's going to be a new style of movement here through Ilmeg, what they could do. What do you think about the possibility of a character flying being added in 5.0 when we visit the fairy realm? So they've spoken a lot about why they haven't added just straight up wings as a flying mount. They've been asked about that quite a bit. And there's issues in regards to the way that a mount is actually registered and the appearance and the framework of it. And our characters basically have no framework to allow for something like that. We have a falling animation and we have things like that, but we don't have a legit flying animation that's just us So could they do it? Absolutely. I actually don't think they'll give us the ability to just fly like that. I think there's too much value in actual mounts, and that they will kind of just leave us with that. I don't think they're gonna take that kind of all that work they've done on mounts and reverse it just to give us that whole, hey, I can fly like this is Ion or something like that. So I'm personally kind of not a fan of the idea. So I'm not really gonna delve too much into it. Too much. All right, question number 6. Hi, Mr. Happy. Long-time viewer, first-time asker, so I have a bonus of key lime pie. I can't look at key lime pie the normal anymore because Dexter, for those who have seen the show. Yeah, that's, I think every key lime pie is gonna kill me now. Anyway, a couple questions. One, with the tank announcement for 5.0 and most likely a healer being announced during the JP Fan Festival, you think they'll announce another DPS? No. 2 jobs. I don't see us getting a third. So that's a pretty easy answer. Just no. I do think that next expansion, they want to look at another ranged physical DPS. But this expansion, tank, healer, done. Nothing else. I could be wrong. I'm open to being wrong. It's just not very likely, in my opinion. 2, there's some mixed reviews about Nier being introduced, as there is some uncertainty as how it would fit into Eorzea. How do you feel? You know what? I feel the same way. If they do it poorly and it doesn't fit, it'll be cool. It'll be a nice homage to Nier, but it'll feel very out of place and very unimmersive in Final Fantasy XIV. But I have faith that they can do it correctly as long as they don't do it like Omega. Omega is a Final Fantasy character who was poor in terms of implementation. And then you have Crystal Tower and Ivalice, which are also Final Fantasy, and were done excellently in terms of their integration. So if they do it like Ivalice and Crystal Tower, even though it's not inherently a Final Fantasy game or anything along those lines, I think it could be okay. But I'm paying very close attention because they could screw this up and it could be flashy and cool, but also really dumb at the same time. And I'm hoping it doesn't turn out that way. I've always said that I don't have any issue believing in the fact that we'll have androids, because we had a space robot, and I always take this exact quote. We had a space robot chase a dragon across the galaxy to land on our planet to create a pocket dimension in which he could turn his own thoughts into actual physical beings to fight with us in a tournament of power. I don't have any issue believing in androids. It's just about how they integrate them into Final Fantasy XIV. On to that, question number 7. Hey, happiest of misters, how you doing? You doing alright? I'm doing alright. You doing alright? Yeah, you doing alright. I don't remember if this has been asked. Probably. But we'll see. So wondering about the chest system in Savage raid tiers. Couldn't Square Enix make it so there's always 2 chests while locking out the rolls on all who already cleared? Something like when you get an item in a 24-man raid or an excluded from any other chest. So the reason why they don't do that is basically something that people were afraid of when they found out that you'd be able to redo raids you'd already cleared for the week, is that you'd have 7 people who all have beaten it, carrying one person, giving them all the loot. That's why they make it so that you don't get multiple chests of loot and just lock the people out who already have clears, because then you'd be running into that situation a lot. Even when it's only 1 or 2 people, they basically don't want those being 1 or 2 people. They want those 1 or 2 people to be there valued for their actual contribution towards clearing it. and helping people out. They don't want those 1 or 2 people being like super experienced people who absolutely carry the whole group, and then they're just 2 less people that you don't have to roll on for loot itself. So that's kind of the main reason why it works like that right now. I understand why it works that way, and I understand the frustrations with why it works that way, but that's the main reason why they do it, because those kind of gears are a lot more valuable, and honestly, it just makes it a seller's market. Honestly, that might be the biggest concern they have. It turns it into a seller's market, because then selling loot is already a thing, and the way it's done is very different from this. If they do that, the number of people who sell Savage Clears and Savage Loot, oh boy. Oh boy. Whew, man, that's going to take off. And you're thinking, oh, not many people do. They will. They very much will. So yeah, that's definitely one of the big reasons. So there are upsides and downsides to both approaches. I think that fear in itself is enough to kind of cancel out a change in it, pretty much. All right, question number 8. Sup, my dude? Sup? What's up? You like I've been asked this a few times, so I'll keep it short. Thanks. I've been networking and trying to find a static for O12 Savage Prog for a few weeks, but people are either already progging final or haven't cleared the previous fights. What advice would you give for finding a group or advertising myself? So I guess without an idea of how much rating you've done, it's hard to say. I don't know if you're somebody who's done 9, 10, and 11 and has done most of 12, if you've done no 12 at all. That's usually the struggle, but a lot of times you just end up going in pugs, and eventually you either find a group that's in need of one person when you're pugging, or you get your clear through the pug itself. I know it sounds great. Oh, pugging 012, that couldn't work. I've seen plenty of people pug through all of Savage this entire expansion. I even pugged through a fair portion of it in the earlier times. So generally, that's what you have to do. If you're finding you can't find a static. Also, I guess I should ask if you were trying to recruit in the Party Finder, like throwing yourself out there in the Party Finder. I'm this job looking for O12 Savage Prog, currently have this experience, because that usually works for a lot of people as well. So yeah, it's that's just how it goes. That's kind of most generic answer, and it's probably stuff you already knew, but it's the best I could really organize it. All right, question number 9. Hello, Mr. Happy. I have no bonus. Good, because the bonus is only for the first time. I hope you've been able to rest between FanFest, Kingdom Hearts 3, and moving. Moving's not done yet. You can see some of the shelves behind me have emptied out, but there's still quite a few more. Some of that back there is not even coming with me, but I'd say one more box, and there's also an entire shelf over here that I've almost completely cleaned out that you guys can't even see, and I've also done most of the closet in here. So at this point, it's just, monitors, computer, some of the basic stuff that's in here that I'm going to be using right up until the last second. But anyway, I asked a question a couple weeks ago, but it didn't get noticed. Interesting. Not that there's any bother, I'll leave it here. I asked a question a week ago that wasn't noticed. That's strange, because generally if it's not noticed, it's not so much about it not being noticed, and it's more so about it being a question that isn't appropriate. So now I kind of want to go back and see, or it was asked after I actually, oh, you know what? There was one week where I forgot to lock the question thread, and I finished Mondays with Mr. Happy, and then I went back and locked it afterwards. That might have been that week, and it might have been the question that came after I'd already locked it. So yeah, it's possible, so apologies for that. But anyway, you have a couple of questions. So I'm going to take one of them because we have a ton of questions this week. I wish I knew which one. It's probably the first one that you're asked. That is the question from the other week. All right, with all the buffs Monk has gotten, I'm quite happy with what they've done, especially now that TK is getting used and reducing the punishment for missing positionals. The thing that Monk is feeling kind of like Heavensward Black Mage, where performing the job at its best is tricky, like using Tornado Kick under tight buff windows, very punishing when you miss a GCD under perfect balance. With Shadowbringers coming soon, it would be nice if they gave us an AoE chakra attack, I agree, and a better enmity cut skill and a jump back action. That I don't think we need. Or even making one Ilm Punch, Earth Tackle, and Purification useful in some way. Honestly, with TP going away, I imagine Purification would get replaced with something that's AoE Chakra, as you've mentioned. I think Tackle Mastery was the biggest mistake. Yes, we have Wind Tackle now, and it serves a purpose, but honestly, with the way that it works, I could care less. They could honestly just change Shoulder Tackle to be the double one that gives you the stack and get rid of Fire altogether at this point. And one Elm Punch is useless. So those are just kind of a few thoughts I have on those 3 skills in particular. Oddly enough, a part of me would even like if Monk's got Featherfoot. We don't. I mean, if you want to change what it does, maybe, but I don't. I'm good without it now. For the time being, I think we're okay at this point. As a Monk main, is there anything you'd like to see in the job? So there's not really anything, like you said. I kind of like Monk the way that it's been evolved. I think Tackle Mastery was the big hit or miss point. And also, sorry, my phone keeps going off because my girlfriend's DMing me. And on top of that, I think there's a few skills that questionable usage, like, you know, the ones you've named right there. So for me, you've already named an AoE chakra attack. People have mentioned a ranged attack of some kind. Chi Blast is obviously for Final Fantasy XI fans, or even people who have played previous Final Fantasies before that. That's a big one that people like to make mention of. There's also 100 Fists. It's another ability where you just auto attack with basically 0 delay for several seconds. It's already used in one of the Pugilist quests by Hamon Holy Fist. So there's a few abilities, but I guess in the way the job actually functions now, I don't want that to change too drastically. I just want us to have more ways of working around the way the job is supposed to function. And that's what's been good about it expansion to expansion. Hey, it really sucks when you can't be in a certain form when you want to start the fight. Oh, now we have form change. Oh, we want something to do while there's downtime on the boss. Now we have chakras. You know, they've constantly just given us tools that have just made the previous tools more intuitive. There's some who would argue maybe against Riddle of Fire, but I'm personally okay with big hits for slightly less attack speed, especially because it makes double weaving a lot easier during that exact window, which then adds a little bit more fluidity to the actual job. So there's a lot of things I really like, and I don't want it to go too crazy. Those are just a few abilities that I've named, or a few concepts that I'd maybe like to see introduced. But even then, I don't want us to just get like a ranged attack at level 20 or something in its Chi Blast, you know? I would prefer it be maybe something you could do ranged with chakras, but then do we really need a ranged option that's chakra exclusive? I don't really think we do. Maybe you can expend a stack for it. It's just kind of messy. So there's a big question mark there about whether or not I even want that. So those are just a few thoughts that I have, just rattling on off a few, but nothing in particular that I really want to say. All right, question number 10. We're like just over halfway done with the questions too. Like I said, a lot of questions this week. Hey, Mr. Happy, hope you and your gal having a lovely Valentine's Day. Well, it ain't Valentine's Day yet, but we won't even be together for Valentine's Day. She's already up in San Francisco, not at the new place, but like working a new job. So we won't even spend Valentine's Day together. We'll have to do that late. So yeah, I mean, probably do something after we're done moving and all that stuff. So I'm just leveling Dragoon 270 from 60. I love the changes they've made. Jump feels smoother. Set patterns for your 4th or 5th combo hit much better. I love Jir Skogul no longer drains gauge. Honestly, I like it so much, I'm afraid of what Shadowbringers might do. I'm in love with I was just going to bring up Stormblood Bard because this is exactly how I feel about Stormblood Bard. As a white mage main, I just don't have a lot of faith they're going to get the jobs right. Do you have any fears about job changes? Bard was number 1. Bard they've nailed it finally. The first iteration was okay. The second iteration was big damage, but very odd. A very odd change of pace. And the third iteration is the first iteration where I go, oh, Bard is a DPS in this game? And then I see it execute. I was like, wow, they made it make sense. Because it's always been one of their things. Wait, Bard as a DPS, they're basically like Ranger, but with some songs in there. Now they're very much about their songs. It's very much a big part. Yes, they are still about shooting bow and whatnot. But it's still, they've nailed it. Like, they've got it down. So I'm super afraid for what's going to happen. Monk, as you may have picked up from the previous, is also one I'm a little afraid of, but not nearly as much as I am for Bard, because they've already done 2 massive changes with the job's pacing, and I'm scared for them. So that's the big one. It's definitely Bard. Question number 11. Hey, Haps, second time asker, so no bonus, but I hope you had a good week. I did. I hope you had a good week too. Not sure if you remember, or even if I remember correctly, but back shortly after Heavensward came out, you did some raids and maybe trials solo unsynced with Healer Happy. No, Healer Happy I definitely didn't do unsynced, but after Heavensward came out, I probably went and did a few level 50 things unsynced, maybe some like low-level dungeon stuff. Stormblood, I've done a lot of unsynced stuff, so maybe that. My question is, have you done any old content like this since, maybe that I've missed during Stormblood patch cycle? Enjoy old content solo, or did you plan to do anything like the current Stormblood gear upgrade? So, I mean, it's a lot of words getting thrown around here. So, yes, I've done things on Sync since. I've done them on Blue Mage. I've done them on other jobs. I had to solo through a bunch of coils to get, like, final coil stuff to get some gear for Blue Mage before. I've also done minimum item level stuff. I did all the Realm Reborn Primals minimum item level. I did Thornton minimum item level. I did a bunch of that as well. So, yeah, I've done all sorts of different things like that. And I'll probably do it a little bit more, because I do need level 60 to 70 Gunbreaker stuff. I think I have some, but I think I still need a few more pieces, so I'll probably grab those, but I probably won't even unsync those. I'll probably just run through with people who need to level in those various level ranges. We'll see what actually happens. And then whatever the other new job is, I'll probably need gear for that as well. Second question, do you know of any popular streamers, YouTubers who specifically focus on this sort of content? Specifically focus on it? No. But there's plenty of other people who do stuff like that. And if you took a quick search on YouTube, you definitely find a lot of people who do unsynced kill videos and stuff like that. When new ones happen, like I remember when Second Coil Savage got soloed by a scholar, that was a pretty popular one. But I'd still think like the pinnacle of like popularity for an unsynced kill video is probably still Xeno's Titan Extreme back at level 60. That's still kind of like the big one that set the bar for unsynced solos. So I don't think we've had anything quite that insane since then. But those are good times. That was definitely good times. I asked this because I'm a huge part of why I play 14. I love finding old content can be soloed and finding new strategies to beat it. Honestly, I think I need to remake every guide for every old fight. Because the number of people who have no idea how to do unsynced versions of these fights, and they're like, oh, I'm just going to try to murder Ifrit right away. Oh, wait, now we're all dead. Oh, I'm just going to murder Leviathan. Oh, wait, now I'm dead. I might have to wait till 5.0 because it might change a little bit depending on our survivability and whatnot. But, man, there's some situations. You know what I just realized? I never redid, because I can solo Ifrit hard mode on Blue Mage at 50. It just takes like 40 minutes. I meant to release a video of that. It's not going to be a very thrilling video, but I did mean to release a video on that. And I might have to go wrap that up and actually get that done in the near future. All right, question number 12. Hey, Happerino. Hello. With Hydatos and the conclusion of Eureka coming up, have you heard anything or insight about making it more solo-friendly in the future? Say you want to go back in 5.0. They'll do it. They always make the old relics more solo-friendly after the expansion passes. The question of how they do it, there's a number of ways they could go about. Maybe allowing you to actually go in there as a level 80, as opposed to level capping in at 70. Maybe making it so that crystals drop off random enemies and they don't exclusively drop off bosses. And then, of course, you can buy all the upgrade materials with that. Light's already soloable in all of the current iterations, so I think it'll just be a matter of some small changes. Maybe remove some of the elemental level syncs from the earlier zones as well. I think they'll cut everything you need or increase the availability of it so massively that honestly soloing Eureka might end up being the easiest of the solo relics to do. And that's saying a lot, but listen, there's no books. That already cuts out a Realm Reborn. Okay, it's already better than a Realm Reborn once it's soloable. Okay. Question number 13. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hello. Last week I asked what were the chances of us getting Dancer, and after watching State of the Realm, I remember that in the latest Astro storyline, a character you meet is a Necromancer. Do you think that's because Necromancer shown in the game that it raises the chances? No, I think it has 0 probability on that. As you may notice, Necromancer, the idea of raising the dead, especially in JRPGs, is regularly affiliated as kind of like a strictly evil stance to take. And a lot of that is a culturally speaking thing. Here in the West, it's a little bit more culturally acceptable, something like that. People aren't as sensitive to it. But a lot of other cultures around the world, that is a very, very bad thing. And any sort of implications of it are very bad. In fact, even in China, they can't have skeletons in games. It's considered disrespectful to the dead. So in the Chinese version of Final Fantasy XIV, there's no basic skeleton model like we have over here in the West and on the global version. So I don't think they'll do it. It's not that they can't. It's also a very uncommon thing in Final Fantasy. I think the only time we've ever had Necromancer, like proper, is Final Fantasy V in a special edition version of the game. There might be something in Tactics that works somewhat similarly, but I don't remember quite well off the top of my head. But it's just a very uncommon thing and is just not a very popular idea that gets thrown around for JRPGs. All right, question number 14. Hi, Mr. Happy. Hello. With the developers finally acknowledging Final Fantasy VIII's existence. Man, you put it so well. With Gunbreaker, what are your thoughts on Ultimicia's castle as a potential setting for the 8-man raid? I think it's fairly easy to rework her into a lore-friendly man. Listen, after Omega, I don't trust them with shit. I'll be the first to say it. They have to prove to me again that their 8-man raids aren't going to be full of shit. Because Omega was full of shit. It was awful the way they integrated everything into Omega. He was the only character that was real in all of that. Alpha eventually, but I don't trust them. So I'm not even thinking about integrating previous game villains into the next 8-man raid. Because they fucked it up. It wasn't good. So they'll have to prove to me that it's effective before I even think about considering something fan servicey like that again. Besides, I kind of want something a little more, obviously still steeped in Final Fantasy past, but something a little more original. I think that just Ultimecia's castle, I'm also of the opinion, I really want the raid to be tied into the main story. I'm big on that. We have a normal and a savage for a reason now. And that's not the reason, but it could be. We could have it at some point. We've had it for years. I don't know. I don't have much faith, is all I'm trying to say. I don't think Ultimecia's castle is a thing. I don't think there's any likelihood of it. And it be like bottom of the barrel. I'd sooner believe like Tower of Babel because of dwarves than Ultimecia because of Gunbreaker. And honestly, I don't believe in either of them, so I don't really know what to say on that. Let's just wrap it up with, I do not believe it raises the likelihood of that, nor do I believe they will do that. They could very well. I couldn't know any better, so we'll just have to see. All right, question number 15. Hello, Hap. Hello. I hope all is going well. Got a Kingdom Hearts 3 question related to the ending. So you may want to put a spoiler warning. Yeah, no, good idea. So anyone watching me live on Twitch, anyone watching on YouTube, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that off the screen so it's not there. Like this. Boom. And I'm going to give you a thumbs up. When I give you the first thumbs up, the spoiler is starting. When I give you the second thumbs up, the spoiler is over. So the first spoiler is starting now, so you should be muted. And when you see this a second time, it's okay to turn the audio back on. Got it? Good. Let me read the question now. Okay, so let's see. Given how the game didn't exactly feel like an end due to the big reveal of Xigbar in the black box and the rushed 6-hour finale, are you excited for the next game or sort of meh about it like myself, since Kingdom Hearts 3 wasn't what it was advertised to be? No, it was exactly what it advertised to be. It just didn't meet expectation. The game's weaker story does not have me hyped as much as it once did. I will buy the next one. I am not in any way anticipating or excited for the next one like I was for Kingdom Hearts 3. That ship has sailed, but I am more in the immediate future looking forward to Kingdom Hearts 3 Final Mix. They said they wouldn't do like a final mix, but they have mentioned the idea of doing DLC. And I needed to fix some things, man. I need a harder game. I need more cutscenes, even if there's just a few small ones in there. And honestly, I need Nomura to let his hate boner for Versus 13 just die. Not even a hate boner, his love boner for it and his hate boner for 15. I need that. I just need that to go away, because that really negatively impacted the way I look at the Kingdom Hearts franchise. And for me, the irony of it is, for me, Kingdom Hearts 3 is the Final Fantasy 15 of the Kingdom Hearts franchise. It's like the one I'm like okay with, and I think desperately needs DLC to make it feel complete. Literally exactly how I would have described 15 when it first released. And too easy. Literally has everything. But it's got less of a post game than Final Fantasy 15, so yeah, it's just, I got problems with the game. So I'm not as excited for the next game, but I'll get back to you on that after they release anything regarding Kingdom Hearts 3. If they do and if they don't, boy, I'm going to feel real bad. I'm going to feel real bad about that. Okay. Spoilers over. Alright. On that note, let's move over to question number 16. Hey Haps, you were a tad busy during your stream to answer this, so I figured I'd drop it over here since it's an appropriate question for a Q&A with Mr. Oh no, I answered this question live. You just didn't hear me answer it. That's the irony of it, because I did answer this live, and I know exactly what the question is before I even read the second half of this. Any speculation you have for other jobs in terms of what roles we're going to get for Shadowbringer? Since we're getting a tank, I have a feeling it'll be a healer and casters. It will be most likely a healer. And that's it. And if it's anything other than a healer, probably a ranged physical DPS. It's going to be one or the other. The odds of us seeing 3 jobs, I won't say 0. I'll at least give it that. Under 5% of us seeing 2 more jobs revealed for Shadowbringers. So that's where I stand on that one. And yeah, 1 healer would be the only other prediction that I would have in regards to another job for Shadowbringers. Question number 17. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hope you are having a spectacular day. I am indeed. My husband and Bill? Somebody want to help me with? Brother-in-law. There you go. It took me a second. I was like, Bill? But his name only has 1 L. are WoW refugees and started playing 14. My husband would like to ask the following question. Looking at all the character stats, what is the difference between strength, dex, intelligence, determination, and attack and spell power? Alright, so here's the thing. I don't even have to answer the question directly. Wonderful thing in the game itself. Since you guys are refugees, this is a good question to have because this is a very basic thing. And you know what? You've just given me another video for my 101 series because I'm going to answer this in another video as well. If you hover over the stat, it actually tells you exactly what it does. Now, it doesn't give you exactly the percentage in which it helps you. It won't be like, hey, this is 20% more crit, or this is 5% more attack power. What it will tell you is what the function of every stat is. So just take your mouse, and if you're playing on PS4, I don't know if you have to go into mouse mode on the PS4, but there is a mouse mode there too. So if anything works, that'll at the very least work. Hover over it, it'll tell you exactly what it does. It'll say for strength, this raises your attack power on these jobs. Dexterity raises it for these jobs. Int raises it for these jobs. Determination increases attack and healing. It does that. Just hover over it, read it through, and you got it. To add on to the last question, apparently you can use the touchpad to hover over it. So, as a non-controller player, at least not normally outside of Healer Happy, thank you. This is the last question that's listed on the forums, so unless there's been another one since I've been reading these because I didn't lock it before I started, then this will be the last one. Hey, Happy, good luck with the upcoming move. Thank you. Rush questions, yes, because you were asking me, don't start yet, I'm not done. And I'm like, okay. Think Male Vieira might be tied to a new job, which is why they won't be announced till Tokyo, since Gunbreaker was hidden in the trailer. Could Puppeteer. That's it. Listen, it's sure as hell ain't gonna be Puppet Master. They already named Puppet Master as a potential limited job. So that shit you gotta cut out of your vocabulary for a while, because that ain't gonna happen. Regardless, could it be? Sure. Do I think it is? No? Because race does... Here's the thing, the game will never be tied race to job. Now, that's not to say there can't be a job that is a profession among the races. For example, the Aura, I guess I can't say the Aura in general because they really can do whatever the hell they want. Specifically, Yugiri, who was an Aura, was tied to the ninja job. But that's more of a cultural location. That's a Doma thing, not an Aura thing. So a race can be tied to an area, which can be tied to a culture, which can be tied to a job. But it's not like you'll have to be this race to be this job. And I want to be abundantly clear about that. Yeah, or like machinists, or they're all tied to various regions and various concepts. Now, what I do think will happen is when they reveal Male Vieira, they'll then also reveal a Male Vieira as the new job. Normally, when they do new job reveals, they try to lean towards it being a Warrior of Light, but they've strayed from that in the past using Mikote for machinists and stuff. So I think they'll probably show a Male Vieira as the new job, but they're not one in the same, I suppose. Just because that's never how it's worked in the game itself. Now, I'm going to refresh this page, and if there are no more questions, then I will wrap up Mondays with Mr. Happy, and it looks like there are none. So, yeah, that's going to be the last question for Mondays with Mr. Happy. Normally, I make time for some Twitch chat questions, but that took a really long time to get through because that was 18 questions, and some of them multi-parters, and some of them I even had to skip along the way. So it's been it's been a hell of a week. And it's going to be a hell of a week because, like I said, I got the move. I think the move is officially on the 18th and the 19th. 19th, I know I fly up to San Francisco. And then, yeah, and I've still got packing to do. The rest of that behind me has got to go in a box by the end of today, mostly for my own personal goals. Oh boy, I'm looking forward to that. I'm not. Thank you, everyone, for your questions this week for Mondays with Mr. Happy. If you have a question that you want to ask, you want to guarantee that I see it, you don't want to rely on Twitch chat or after the fact, there's a Dream Network forum. I post an overall link that you then post your questions into, and then I answer the questions as you've now seen in this video. So on that note, I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you to our Patreon sponsors. Twitch chat, I will be hanging out for a few more minutes. YouTube, though, thank you for your questions. I will see you in Hydados to slay absolute virtue. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.